Hello, this is Kristen Atkins from Impressing Minds, and today I wanted to talk about the term of placement or how long a child can be placed in your care. So you may be thinking, well, I want the child forever. Well, not always is that going to happen, or is that going to be the case, because sometimes the child only needs a short amount of time before they can go back to their parents or a relative. They may need a short amount of time, or they may need a long amount of time. For example, their parents may be using drugs and need to go to rehab. So a rehab program can be anywhere from 30 days to 6 months. They're very long-term drug rehab programs. So in that case, the child would be with you the entire time. So in my experience, the shortest amount of time I've had was a set of siblings. There were 3 siblings, and they were here for about 2 weeks. So they were taken from their mom because of some situations like the water was turned off at their house, and just home, like the physical well-being of the home. So they were taken, they came to our house, we did everything as if it were a long-term placement. We got them new clothes, we got them their new dressers, we got them enrolled in school which I think they were already enrolled. So they would still been in the same school district. So we got them the paperwork changed over to our house, our bus numbers, all that kind of thing. And then, just as we were settling in with the children, we had a good schedule and we had a good routine and everything, they were like, okay, they're ready to go home. And we were like, oh no, we just got everything kind of situated for them. And everything was kind of relaxed. My kids were used to them and everything was going well. So the water was back on. The resources that were necessary were given to the mom, and she took them back, and everything went very successfully. And so that was a very, very short-term placement. Now, the longest placement we've had is a placement that was 2 siblings, and it was for over 2 years. In fact, I've had 3 sets of siblings that were over 2 years each. And that's because different parents needed to go to rehab for different amounts of time. So like they might have gone into a 30-day program. And then after the 30-day program, they were then enrolled in a 6-month program. And then after that, there's just so much trial and error to do visits and then to do long-term visits. The visits are usually supervised at first, and then they're unsupervised, and then they're overnight. There's such a huge transition. And then a lot of times a relapse occurs. So say you have a 30-day rehab. Well, first you have to get them into the program, the parent. The 30-day program is done. They go to a 6-month program. So right there is 7 months. Then after that, they might be out for 2 or 3 months having visits, and they have visits actually during the rehab program also. They have visits while the parents are in there also. But anyway, it's just another step toward more and more freedom with their children. So they would have these visits longer, still supervised mostly, but then something would happen and perhaps would relapse. So then they would go back into another program, maybe for a 6-month period of time. So it's just a long process. Out of the 3 sets of siblings, one parent ended up in jail. Actually, it's just a different situation. So you can never predict. My ultimate saying to you is that you can never predict how long some child will be or some children will be in your care. You can't predict that. You can't even say, yeah, it's going to be really short because we're just going to make sure we have their water back on and everything is situated and cleaned up and ready for them to go back. Because for one thing, they don't know how compliant, the parent will be You would think the parent would be extremely compliant. Sometimes it's not always the case, or sometimes the resource just doesn't come through. So you can never seriously predict, and I would just be leery if a social worker said, yeah, this will be really a short-term placement, unless they know there's a family member somewhere they're searching for, they're looking for, that has taken the children in the past or taken care of them in the past, and they plan on doing that again. So long story short, it can be 2 weeks to over 2 years. And later in other videos, I'm going to show you tips and tricks to make sure you are the foster parents that don't let the children go back. You keep them at your house for the 2 years. How in the world can you keep someone else's kids in your house for 2 years? Don't they have bad behaviors? Yes, they do. They have bad behaviors. Don't they drive you crazy? Yes, they do. They absolutely drive you crazy. But what's the alternative? The alternative is I call up the social worker and say, I need these kids removed. As long as they're not destructive to themselves, to my other children, or to my house, and even if they were disruptive to my house or destructive, I may even consider that. But yeah, I kept them for the long haul. I wasn't like one of these people that would get them for the honeymoon period and then let them go back. So I'm going to do some videos on how do you let kids stay with you for over 2 years. So stay tuned to that. Like and subscribe, and make sure you leave some comments. What do you want to hear videos about? What's your biggest concern about foster care, and how can I help you? Just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.